This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry, I'm just recording. You had some great ideas. Thank you.
Nice.
Oh, I love that one.
Mr. Anderson, help us out. Share with us what how you help form parents in faith.
Well, what we did was we sent home some lessons, especially. That's not me, by the way, Croaking. We sent home lessons for those preparing for the sacraments, and I think there was about 40 of them, and the parents were very responsive. The only problem I see, because we have so many Filipinos, some of them did not understand it, and should have invited them in and explained it, because of the language barrier. That was the only thing. And on the other hand, we have parents who don't go to church, so they were having problems understanding that. But we're going to try, doing some more online, classes with them, especially the Sacramento kids. That's where we're at now.
Okay, thank you.
Jane, this is Nikki from St. Anthony's in
Hi,
Kailua. Hi. So for the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, our religious ed has included like an Ohana Sunday unit. So once a month, we invite all families into the parish hall for like a catechism class, so to speak. But it usually includes like music or crafts or things that help them prepare for a certain season if we're going into Advent or Lent. But it's a way to bring both parents and children in together with all the catechists that teach their children on a Sunday basis, and kind of helps give parents materials and the ability to start those conversations at home as well. So that has been really helpful, and of course we really miss that being home. But our catechists have now transitioned to more of the online, obviously, meetings through like Zoom or whatever they feel comfortable with. And there we found that especially with the younger children, the parents are sitting down with the kids at the computer or whichever device they're using and going through the lessons with our catechists at the same time. So that has been really helpful as well. And then, of course, it's kind of a combination right now of everything that we've been forced into with this distancing, where we're also sending home materials weekly, letting them know, here are some online resources you can use for your family. So that also has sort of, found its way in that we weren't doing as much before. So.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Jane. It's Laurie at Our Lady of Good Counsel. Hi, everyone. So for me, it's youth and family, but I have a heavy hand on the middle school and high school. Pamela Velasco has the younger ages for catechesis, but for the family, and it was actually a parishioner requesting something where we could still gather as a parish to pray. Yes, we have the live stream mass, and that's wonderful. So what started about the second week of April, we started doing nightly family rosary. So I have a lead family that comes onto the Zoom with me, and then the Zoom is linked to Facebook Live. And so family at 7 o'clock then gather, but every night it's a different family that signs up from the parish. So I try and, send out and get a list of people to sign up. And we've had different families, and it's nice to see. For me, I didn't realize the blessing that would be for me is to be able to see all their faces that I normally would not probably have seen. And I get comments from people who are watching. We had one where it was mom and dad, and their children were 4 and 1, and mom never skipped a beat. in praying the rosary, but the kids were just running around and popping their heads into the video, and dad was picking them up and moving. And a couple of comments people came back with was, it was so beautiful to see. This is our families. These are our families and this is how they pray. And this is the best way. And it was just so beautiful to see, the children. So that's been something nice that has developed for trying to keep the family prayers going.
Yes, I think that that's something that we're hearing across the board for those of you who are using webinar technology. Zoom is the easiest one, of course, that entering into people's homes, there's an intimacy that's being formed that's different from seeing them just at the parish. Someone said it's like the difference between movie stars, where you go to a theater and you see them on the big screen and they seem so unapproachable, and then television stars who come into your home, every week. So there's a more familiarity with it, and it's a way to build relationships. So. That's great. Anyone else? So let me ask a question. What would it take? What would it take for us to begin helping parents understand that the preferred option for religious education is that parents are the primary catechists of their child, and that we as the parish are here to accompany them and assist them, coach them with that, but to really work toward, over time, reinforcing what is being learned in the home. What do you think would take in order for us to get there in a year or 2 or 3?
I have a comment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in, I'm not even a DRE yet. I'm just coming in. And thank you, by the way. So I'm coming from an RCIA background, and I'm dealing with the adults who are in the process with their children. But one of the things I noticed, since I've always been an adult faith formation focused person, is I think laying the groundwork is developing the love and the passion of the parents first, because without their confidence, I mean, not first, but to really highlight, instead of that being an afterthought, that is probably has to equally be as much a part of the process. Because unless mom and dad are in, it's going to be difficult. It'll be like, I think I've seen it in RCIA. It's kind of like pulling a donkey in. They haven't realized their own passion for the faith yet, and so I think that groundwork would be reminding the parents, you are God's child as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nadine. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'll be honest, I sort of saw that as what you're talking about, Jane, is the silver lining of all this. And of course, we hated to see not being able to be in person with our kids, but I sort of thought that this is the side effect of this shelter at home that we have the opportunity to take advantage of. Because even if you don't look at it, but from an education perspective, parents are having to learn how to educate their children, which is something they haven't done in 50 years. So if at least got that element in their brain already, they're already thinking they have to be teachers of their kids. Now we just have to make them realize that they have to be faith teachers of their kids also. So it's just taking it one step forward. So in other words, we don't have to put education back in the home. The shelter at home order already did that for us. Now we just have to put faith education back into the home.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I know this really is, if we're looking for areas of silver linings and God's wry sense of humor, it is. And, you know, and in many ways, when we think, if we go back to the same way we were doing things, not all of us, but that it's a traditional classroom model, parents separate their growing in faith from their child, it's not discussing how, you know, then really we haven't learned anything, you know, from having to shelter in place all of this time. So so yes, so that's what so that's where we're headed. And I'm encouraging all of us to, you know, take a look at our parishes and ask, and the families particularly we serve. Now, Sister Nancy brings up a good point. Many of our parishes, if not all, we have different, you know, ethnic groups, different levels of willingness to do this. But what every parent and or grandparent holds in common is that they want to pass on the faith to their child. That's why they bring their child to religious education. So somewhere in deep in their heart, whether it's because grandma is pressuring the daughter to bring the grandchild to religious education, somewhere along the line, they heard the call they heard the call of Jesus the Good Shepherd. And so for us to help them say how in their family dynamics Christ is alive at work. Now, I've been to just about every one of your parishes in the last couple of years, and I see how beautifully you interact with parents. You know, you're listening to their stories. You know, they share things going on in their lives with you. There's an intimacy there, and so with that intimacy comes a level of trust. And so so for parents to be able to trust us and to trust each other with their stories and how God is alive in those stories, that's the piece
That's the
that
key.
is portable to take home, you know, because the catechesis comes eventually. Uh, People will, you know, they'll ask themselves, where does that all come from? Why do, you know, in this lockdown, why is it that families are one of the first to run toward social ministry, feed the hungry, shelter, you know, the homeless? You know, it's like we trained all of our lives for this. Where does that come from? And then the catechesis, you know, takes place. But certainly it's within the discipleships, those actions that we're seeing in the community, um, that enliven, you know, our faith. So so that's what I'm asking us to consider, is to take a look at our parishes, at the families that we serve. How can we begin to, yes, we need to focus on the adults, whether it's the grandparents or the parents, um, and start building in that expectation that we are going to help you catechize your child. That is the expectation. Um, but we will help you to do this. Now, when I say that, I know that there are all kinds of challenges. So one of the first pieces that I would like to offer to all of you, to all of us, is I'm bringing on board, I have commitments from a major publishing company, because we're using their resources. In, you know, some of them we're using fully, others may not, but these are the people who who all of them were DREs in the past, all of them were teachers in the past, and we're all facing the same question. How can we help our families? How can we help our parents or even the grandparents be that first catechist of their child? So how can we use the resources to do this? I'm lining up. So far, I have a commitment from Sadlier, Loyola Press, RCL Benzinger, and I'm waiting on a few more. So you can listen in, even if you're not using their materials, you might want to listen in on how they're approaching family-based catechesis. So that's one way. And then to bring it, of course, to your catechist. You have marvelous catechists who can help inform us about how we are to proceed. Any other persons that want to share something that you've done that structures your religious education program that includes parents?
Hi, Jane. It's Chrislyn.
I was gonna pick on you, Chrislyn. Okay, thank you.
One thing after hearing everyone, I think it's our parish from St. Joseph Hilo models and takes a little tidbits of everybody too. But one thing that I think we started over the last 2 years was to have our priest come to our religious ed classes of all ages, our CIA, even our teen night, and just be present with them. So when we had this stay-at-home order, our priests, they don't do mass at the moment, but they do adoration and morning gospel. And I found that a lot of our RE families are on there with the kids, and you have everybody's name on there. Hi, Father, from Abby, from Caleb, from Emma. It's like the whole family is saying hi to Father. And I think that really helped make a connection because it was Father representing all of us at the church. And our pastor has a way of saying, I'll see you at Mass, or I didn't see you at Mass, or how's it going? And I mean, he just made these intimate relationships with all the children and their families in the Mass and in the class. And when we went to online, it just made it so much easier to invite them and get them on board. And you can see that we are all craving each other's attention again. That social being
Connection.
embedded in our soul. Yeah, that connection. And even though it's online, it's just so wonderful to see Father talking back and saying things to them and asking, how's your grades and how's Tutu, and we have a big parish and we also have a parish school, but I think the groundwork is there, and thanks be to God we have these wonderful priests who are willing to be a part of that team effort. Parish, parents, and catechists. It's like a trifecta. So I think that was what helped us get this advantage going on during this hard time.
Do you envision continuing some level of webinar, using Zoom, even when we are able to meet again in person?
I think so, yes. I think, now that I've kind of gotten a hold of some of this technology, I think it would be really great to offer for those who can't come in person, for those who have a hard time. I hate when they have to choose between the gifts that God gave them through sports and curricular and their obligation to the requirements for sacraments or for the community of the church. And I feel like we can extend and break beyond those barriers that used to challenge us. And like you said, put it back in the hands of the parents. We kind of started to. If they couldn't make a class, we had them make sure that they checked in with us ahead of time. We had the lessons ready, and it was, hey, sorry you missed this week. We missed you, but you're going to have to catch up. Mom and Dad, this is your kuleana to catch them up. But now with this technology at our fingertips, we can still include them. We'll probably have to make some accommodations, and I think it just comes with a relationship. When you have that relationship, you're willing to do what it takes. And if you're not, then, well, it's God's time. So you work on that, and we'll be here when you're ready.
Thank you. Yes, I believe that is the wave of the future. If we're not doing that now,
Hi, Jane.
then to find the smartest sixth grader that you can who knows how to use a computer.
Yes.
Honestly, kids are just amazing. Because I you know, I was thinking, gosh, what would I do? So if I was like a third grade catechist and I really wanted to help my parents and saying, okay, everybody come to the parish and come to the meeting, you know, we're going to be missing 60%, maybe 50, 60% of the parents sometimes. And so how could I just get on myself and do a 3-minute recording and just say, hi, everybody, I'm Miss Jane, and I'm so happy to hear. Now, here's the lesson that we're going, that for this week. And here's basically what it's all about, and just be really like for ascension. I'm excited to, we're as a family, you're going to be learning together and talking about the ascension. I'm really excited because I love envisioning this scene of the apostles standing there just looking up at the sky, and they can just see Jesus' feet and wanting him to come down, come back down, don't leave us. And so and there are a lot of times when I'm thinking, I want things to stay the same. I wish, Jesus here in person and walking with me, but guess what? He is. And so this is what you're going to be learning, in this, something like that, just real brief, get the parents excited. Because, if we send home anything to read before you teach your child, as a parent, I'm sorry, I don't know if I would read it. And so, so what are some friendly, wonderful things we can do to sort of prime the pump to help parents, be that first catechist of the child? Real brief, friendly stuff, either pre-recorded or say we're
Sound
gonna
bites.
Zoom. Yeah. So like exactly, sound bites. That's wonderful. We were just talking about that. Poo-poos, like little bites. Little bites. That lead us, that draw us to the great banquet. And that for oftentimes the central draw is to be focused on the liturgical year. If we can get parents to read the gospel, the readings ahead of time, to reflect upon that, and then come to Mass together, have that this common expression, and Christ, that would be a place to start.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Liturgically centered has always been uh, a great idea, but a great challenge because sometimes we forget to make that connection between what is being said in liturgy and what is being lived at home. And so I think we have an opportunity with our sound bites to be very empowering or encouraging, but help them make that connection so that liturgy isn't something that's just on Sunday, but it's something that's lived, that God is revealing himself every day. And so when they make that connection, all of a sudden now liturgy isn't something that they're doing on Sunday, but it's something that they don't, that if we can help them realize that it is alive every day in their lives, making that connection. And I liked the idea what you were doing with the rosary and having families connect. I think it's not really accountability, but the beauty of having them participate, or give them a little thing and say, can we all come back and show me a picture of your prayer space, or show me a picture of you living liturgy, or doing a little video. Yeah, I mean something that's very contemporary at the same time, but we can make it spiritual and intimate. I think it's a window of great opportunity that we're just kind of dipping our toe in right now.
I see Sister Gina nodding her head vigorously because I know, Sister. Would you like to share, Sister? What you're doing there? Yeah, it aligns with what Nadine just said. Oh, Sister, you have to unmute yourself, I think.
Okay, hi everyone. I really thank you for all the sharings that you have today. It's really a big struggle here. So we started having online prayers and mass since second week of April, and then while thinking how to connect with our kids, particularly those who are preparing for the reception of the sacraments. And those, of course, particularly the one who is being prepared for baptism, the uncatechized ones. So, and when we were doing the rosary before the mass, a week after, one of the parents called me and said, you know, I just played the, I just opened my phone and then just let my children hear what's going on in our parish online. And then after a week, she said, if the kid will already hear the song, the starting song that we're singing to remind them that we are about to pray the rosary, the kid would say, Mom, in the name of the Father. And so the kid would voluntarily stop playing and would listen. And then when our ending music would end, it would say, Mom, can I play now? So
Oh, cute.
so yeah, so with what we are doing, we sometimes we are thinking, is this really working? But these little stories are giving us hope and giving us inspiration that even if we don't see them, it's really giving a very good effect in the family. And then what I tried was I asked the kids, like some of the kids in the choir, to sing their favorite song, the song that, their prayer song for the week, and then would send it to me through the Facebook, or I would ask the parents, can you please post it in your Facebook? And then late last week, I asked some of the parents to sit down with their kids to answer some of the questions. Like uh, I I asked them, how are you coping with these things happening around the world now? And then what is your prayer? Where do you see Jesus in all of this? And then what are you doing to cope? And then at the end, if they have talent for music or talent for art, I would tell them, can you draw? Can you draw your hope and your prayer for this? And then I would ask them, choose a church song that you know that would summarize your thoughts and your prayers about what's happening around. And many of them responded already. It's on my file, Jane. And some of them, I already asked permission from the parents that if you could play it on air, the song that they're singing or playing on their violin or piano. So we will start today to play one song before our mass, so that the children can feel that they are still with us, that we are with them, even if we don't see each other. So that's one of the thing I do. And then I really busy myself talking to parents and then calling some of the kids, uh, just asking how they are, what's their prayer. I would ask them, what is your prayer today? What are you grateful for today? And then how are you coping with your online classes? What is very difficult? And they would tell me, I really miss my classmates, and it's more beautiful to be in the classroom. And then one of the kids, I miss Jesus school, sister.
Oh.
He would refer to Sunday school. I miss Jesus school. And then it's so heartbreaking that even the kids are missing the mass.
Sister,
Some
thank
of
you
I
so much.
mass.
Sister, thank you. So, do you envision some of what you're doing continuing on, even when we are able to meet again?
Yeah, Father Edison is appreciating all that uh, the parents are giving, the positive response the parents are giving, and he said, even if this um, community quarantine will end, we will continue with our online prayers and
Yes.
mass at least once a week. And then we will continue with this online thing with the parents, because many are attending more in the online. Many are attending our rosary online than when we were doing it in the parish, and many are attending and viewing our mass. more than when we are having it in our church. So
Absolutely.
yeah, a father would want to continue it, and we are so happy that he supports.
Sister, you bring up a great point. The Easter Mass that we broadcast on KHNL and live stream the reason I did that was because I know that the kupuna, our older generation, they don't sit at a computer or watch things on phones. They have televisions. If you're in the hospital, you have a television. If you're in a care home, you have a television. And KHNL came back to me a couple weeks later and said the statistics are in. They said over 11,000 households watched the Mass.
Wow.
We had a Nielsen rating that was so high, they said, if you were a weekly television show, we would renew you. You would guarantee renew for the next season.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
you're right.
That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
So we went, and it wasn't, of course, it wasn't just Catholics who tuned in. So, of course,
Right.
conversations are okay. What else?
Wow.
Which other masses do we want to televise? But you're right. So the use of this technology to reach more people, not as a reason to not come in person, because everyone craves being in person. But we'd been asking our questions. The sports families, they're busy doing this and doing that, and that. Now we have discovered a way to go to where they are.
The beauty of it too is now we can gauge where we were guessing before how engaged they are. If they're logging on voluntarily, and so the feedback is I think what more encouraging for us as catechists, to know that it is making a difference, that we would not have been able to gauge otherwise. It kind of feels like, is everybody doing this because it's an obligatory gesture? But if this way we're able to really see the heart and spirit of the families.
yeah.
Anyone else would like to offer your comments before I wrap us up? We are running a little over time, but the Spirit always moves us.
Jane, can I just share one thing more? For our kids being prepared for baptism, I always see to it that I see them twice a week online. So I ask the parent to pick up their books and some papers that we need to work on, and then I work with them online twice a week, sometimes thrice a week if they are available. And then we would work on the activities there, and I would include the parents in the class by letting her check their work. If there are activities there, I would ask the parents, go to your parents, read what you have learned today, and then give the right answer, and then let your parents sign the book for me. And that way, the parents are also learning. They are giving me feedback that, I learned this for the first time, sister. I don't know this. And then I would ask that the kid to tell their parents the story about the saint that we have just discussed in our online class. I will tell them, okay, for your assignment tonight, when daddy and mommy is home, please tell them the story of this saint. That's your assignment. And then I will ask them tomorrow. So the parents would show themselves in the screen, and I would ask them, sorry, did they tell you about the story of the saints? And then the parents, yeah, and we are learning too. So in that way, I don't give the parents responsibility. I just let them know what the children are doing so that they'll be interested. So I was surprised the other day when she picked up the rosary, because I'm starting to tell them the stories of the mysteries of the rosary. I was so surprised that she said, "Sister, how will I teach this to my kids?" So because she she volunteered already. So I think that's a good way for me to tell her what to do with it, and she will be the one to teach the kids. So for me, it's a sign of readiness to be the catechist of the kids.
Wonderful.
That's
a wonderful option, is to have the classes, and the parent is there and checks the work. And we can imagine that taking place with several parents, several families or a room full of families at the same time. Great practical ideas. I just received a chat message, a person wanting to clarify pertaining to safe environment screening. Why was I told that the parents couldn't be in class, but they can be at retreat? Parents can be in classes, but the expectation is parents can't just walk in whenever they feel like it. There should be a policy from the parish to say when it is an appropriate time for parents to be in the class, so that they're not disruptive, and that the children in particular are not distracted, by a new presence of an adult. So maybe the person asking, Sherry, if you want to email me or call me later, we can discuss it in detail. Thank you. All right. Wonderful. I mean, these are just amazing ideas. Let me just ask one more time, if anyone would like to share anything further before we bring this particular session to a close. Thank you. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
So
Thank you.
One last thing in the chat box. LIFE, LIFE is a safe environment training for parents and children. Yes, there is a program for safe environment that's for training parents and children. That's correct. So thank you. So thank you, everyone. We're going to continue. Our topic for next week is going to be on considerations for reopening religious education sessions. I don't know. I know as much as you do when the governor is going to allow us to gather again. Bishop Larry wrote a wonderful letter to the governor appealing to allow us to open our churches again. But again, we're working together to help the pastors with how to do that in a safe way. And for those of us in vulnerable groups, and we continue to be dispensed, from the obligation of Sunday Mass, continue to watch live stream masses, until such a time when it's, in terms of public health and public safety, we can all gather together. But when we are able to gather again for faith formation, the schools are looking at August, hopefully. So right already we're talking about how to coordinate. If you have a school and parish, if it's an active school, how are your sanitation and infection prevention protocols being shared with each other so that we don't cross-contaminate environments? How are we, going to be able to manage that? So the fact of the matter is this online hybrid kind of learning is going to be a reality for us for quite some time. Definitely, I would say definitely through next year. So we do have to start thinking about it and planning on how we can deliver using video technology and some limited in-person gatherings. So we'll talk about that next week. So again, thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate your time and your patience. And so let us pray in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Holy Spirit.
The Spirit,
And to the
as
Holy
it was
Spirit,
in the beginning,
as
is
it was
now,
in the beginning, is now, and ever
shall be,
world without
world without
end.
end. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Jane.
Blessings, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
Have a nice
everyone. Keep
weekend.
safe.
Okay.
Thank you,
God bless
Jane.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you.